Come on in. Let's have a good time. All right, everybody, y'all are coming in. My name is Markee Tate, president of Advancing Black Businesses. Also, the chair of the board of the ABC. So we got the ABC members coming in. Akita Patterson, I see you out there. Board member of ABC. Thanks for coming in. Definitely have the lovely Raquel helping out this morning. Thank you so much, Raquel. All right, they're coming in. Paula Watts is coming in. All right, got a few people in this morning. All right, Paula Watts, welcome in.
Thank you. Thank you. I told you I found my tribe. I love y'all.
All right. And Paula, soon I'm going to have you on as a guest. Get ready. Get ready.
I'm ready.
All right. All right. Melba is out there. Hello. Barry just came in. All right, y'all. We got a few chamber members in the house. Thank y'all for joining us this morning. And the newsletter, I did not see that go out this morning. So let's see how this turnout is going to be. I know a lot of people didn't get those reminders. Well, we're going to make it happen anyway, y'all. We're going to make it happen this morning. It is 8:32. We're almost underway. Almost underway. Also, everybody, we're in the process of showing the results of the survey that we have promoted for the last several weeks, or definitely since we started the public policy talks. We have the responses are at the number that we need where we can actually start talking about it. And that's what the conversation is going to be centered around this morning. All right, y'all, it is 8:32, almost 8:33. We don't have long to talk this morning, so we're going to get started. This is Advancing Black Businesses Public Policy Talks on this Thursday, Thursday 4/11. We're moving right along. We started this process on 2/1/2024 with public policy talks because we know that we need to actually have public policy from a state, the local, and the federal levels at the forefront of what we do as Black business owners and Black consumers. ABB, Advancing Black Businesses, is a public policy advocacy organization for the Atlanta Black Chambers. We also partner with several other organizations. The one to mention is the Georgia Coalition of Black Chambers. We have 12 Black chambers across this state that are working hard for you each and every day as Black business owners. We put you first as Black business owners. We are very bold and to the point. We don't talk about minorities, even though you may hear us say that from time to time, talking about policy, particularly at the local and the state level. But when we talk about public policy at the federal level, we're talking about you. When we're talking to our U.S. congresspersons, our congressional delegation, we are talking about you. All right, Matthew Coleman is coming in too. But first and foremost, we have been promoting you to actually go in and let's see, I'm going to pull that up. Let me pull off my glasses because this is about to get serious here. Let me get that on the screen. We want to show you some of those results, some of the results of the Advancing Black Business initial survey. That's Advancing Black Businesses initial survey. Let me go back to maximize. And now let me share. There it is. All right, we have 116 responses on the survey. We survey for a reason because we want to hear from you as Black business owners, as members of the Atlanta Black Chambers. That first question, as a Black business owner, which of the following is most important to you? Look at that 45.2%. Leading the way is government contracts. Government contracts. Access to capital comes into a close second, along with access to politicians at 7%, along with a host of other responses from all of the above. to access to capital / government contracting. We have access to contracts in government, proper connections to affordable. And I can't, let me press that and let's see, let me move this over. That is, I can't see what the rest of that is. Raquel, can you see what the rest of that is? Proper connections for affordable. I see the dots, but due to my screen being enlarged, there it is. Housing. I see it now. Housing, building professional relationships, building professional relationships. So by far, we have government contracts, and that's definitely our major focus, along with access to capital.
And Markee, if you hit that blue down arrow, you'll see a few more
Yes,
responses.
few more responses. Okay. There is also policies that encourage to territory student travel. I would say both A and B. Most needed community corporate support, social justice, and proper treatment of people, and then combo of all three. So those are responses in the first question. Going to the second question, in your opinion, which level of government has the most influence on your business? Look at that at 40.9% local government. Local government definitely affects us first and foremost because it is local. It is where the local policies, local ordinances actually start for the development of your business. This local governments decide where you can put your business. At the state level, coming in second at 30%, that decides on what to really structure your business is going to be, and many, many other things, along with the federal government. Federal government. So yeah, 40% local, 30% state, 22% at the federal level, and then we have a small percentage at all of the above, along with all of them banking and securities on a state level regulated by the federal government, related to that access to capital, the banking and securities, those investments. Neither, not sure how to leverage these for my business. A combination of all three. These are very, very good responses. Again, we had 115 responses on that question. Going to, how would you categorize your business? How would you? This is going to relate to what I'm going to talk about shortly, right after the survey. But 79.3% of you that responded said you consider yourself a Black-owned business. Black-owned business, 12.1%. Minority-owned business, number 3. And that is a diverse business. And we have an NA. We have they consider themselves as a nonprofit. Black and women founded and primary led nonprofit, globally diverse. We got globally diverse. You know, we have on the ABC side, we have a Global Opportunities Committee, Black women founded and led nonprofit organization. But overwhelmingly, we're definitely glad to see at ABB that most of you, the majority, overwhelming majority, consider yourselves as a Black-owned business before anything. And you are a Black-owned business. In your opinion, what is the most effective way to close the racial wealth gap? There's a lot of conversation in and around closing that racial wealth gap. At 51.3%, we have access to capital. Access to capital, look at that, 24.3%. That is a reparations program, along with a host of many, many other areas. And I'll cover just a few of those: better access to capital and information, practice group economics. And let's see, what's the rest of that? That is access to capital and change laws, financial education and training, life skills and leadership, along with education and all of the above, a combination, policies that are democratic. Policies that are democratic. All right, that is a host of many ideas about closing the racial wealth gap. And we're going to talk about that as in the coming weeks, more and more about definitely ways of closing that racial wealth gap. This past week, the Congressional Black Caucus released information from the support of the Black Economic Alliance on ways of closing the racial wealth gap. And we're gonna probably get into that report from the Congressional Black Caucus about what they think of the best ways are closing the racial wealth gap. And I know I have my very, very strong opinion about the best ways of controlling that racial wealth gap. And that actually centers around that 24.3%. And that is a reparations program. We are going to talk about reparations in the coming weeks to delve into the best ways of closing a racial wealth gap. There's several studies around the best ways to close the racial wealth gap also. So it'll be quite intriguing what those studies actually talk about. And this one, which political party do you believe best serves the interests of the Black business community? This is a big question. I definitely wanted to see those responses because you have 50.4% say Democrats. That's 50.4% Democrat, 7.8 Republicans, 7.8 Republicans. Wasn't so much surprised with that number. What I'm kind of surprised about is with that Democrats being at that 50.4%, because when you look at how we vote as a community, you look at this last presidential election, which we're upon one right now, this coming November, about 89% of Black people voted for our current president, President Biden. Somewhere around that 11%, depending on the exit polls that you're looking at, voted for the candidate, the opponent of President Biden. So that's 7.8%. You're looking at, look at this 13%, a third party. You know, there's a lot of conversation in and around Blacks need to actually start a third party. But looking at that 50.44%, looking at 89% of us voted democratically this past presidential election in 2020 election cycle. That's intriguing. That's intriguing. We're at 13% because a lot of conversation centers around starting that third party. I generally talk about when you start that third party, also just think about um, if you're the foundation of one particular party, there's ways that you can actually take over that party. Because if we don't vote in that upper 80, really that lower 90% range for that Democratic Party, Democrats have problems. When we don't show up in high numbers, particularly around the 2008 and 2012 election, we showed up somewhere higher than any other ethnic group. We showed up to actually vote. So that's intriguing with all of the other, look at all of the other pieces of the pie, many, many other pieces of the pie around independent, going down to this is changing, Democrats at times, but I prefer a third party. We need our own separate party. Politics are governed by private finance. Private finance, just to delve into that just for a moment, when you think about how much money is being spent on the election cycles, particularly the national election cycles, there was over $5 billion spent on the presidential campaign alone. They're predicting that that's actually going to be much higher this year. I am a believer because when you look at the amount of the campaign finance rules, it changed back in 2010 due to a Supreme Court decision to where there were super PACs. Super PACs were created around 2010 due to the Supreme Court case Citizens United. If you haven't heard about that case, you need to go and just check out Citizens United Supreme Court case. That's when super PACs came about, where super PACs, similar to PACs, but super PACs can put an unlimited amount of money into a particular campaign or race. They just cannot work directly or actually work along with the actual political party or work along with that political candidate. But super PACs, Citizens United, check out that case, y'all. Definitely a good case to look at because I am a believer, I was about to say, in campaign finance reform. I definitely think, when we look at what's going on in DC, we look at what's going on locally. There should be term limits. And I think there should be public financing of campaigns. Public financing should be included because you have super PACs, you have corporations that tend to come in and actually take over different areas, aspects with their dollars and how much money they can actually put together. But we know during the presidential election of President Obama, those fives, those tens, those $20, those low donations really fueled the Obama's campaign, particularly that first campaign. So a lot's going on, y'all. I just wanted to actually come to you and let you know the results of that. It is 846, those results of the actual survey. There is actually 117 responses now. We had someone to respond throughout me talking about this, but we want to continue to keep this live. We still will keep actually showcasing this actual survey. We want to actually build on this survey and build those numbers, but I definitely wanted to come to you and show you a little bit about that once we got over that 100 mark, because we're at that 10% point. We have just over 1,200 members in the ABC, and we got that 10% rate. So we wanted to actually showcase what you talked about, what you actually believe when it comes to surveying with those particular questions. So another thing, I generally talk about, direct ways and indirect ways of how we get more access to capital, how we get more contracting. You heard me early on back in February on Public Policy Talks talk about the contracting levels, particularly at the federal level. The contracting levels that due to the Executive Order 13985, which talks about racial equity in contracting, racial equity in every aspects of the federal government. They talked about the disaggregation of data, and the new numbers came out in 2021 to where it showed that Black businesses, if you remember me talking about that, were getting 1.67% of the federal contracts. In 2022. That went down to 1.55%. And in 2023, it went down to, what was that number? 1.50%. And I said during that conversation is it's time to start, sounding that alarm, because that trend is not going in the right direction. You heard me talk about also a few of the affirmative action cases, particularly the University of North Carolina, Harvard case, the admissions case, which has done away with considering race when it comes to admissions and college admissions. You heard me talk about the SBA 8A program in my home state of Tennessee. A lawsuit was filed saying that the SBA 8A program was discriminatory against whites. A white female-owned business who had a contract in Tennessee with USDA filed a lawsuit because it went to an 8A firm, and you saw the SBA actually put the application process on pause for the 8A program. You had a few other cases in and around that, but the disaggregation of data is needed now. It's needed because we need to know the true numbers within our community. You had the Asian community. For what I'm about to show is the OMB, the Office of Management and Budget, made a decision on disaggregation of race and ethnicity when it comes to the census. As we know, the census is every 10 years. The Office of Management and Budget controls the information that goes in the census. They control the categories, along with one of their prime responsibilities of the Office of Management and Budget is to actually come up with the actual federal government budget. It works closely as a department or agency it's housed within the presidential, I'll say, cabinet. It's very, very important to what we can do as a community. Again, this is an indirect way. The Office of Management and Budget made a decision on March the 28th on race and ethnicity and how it is actually counted. And there were several pushes with organizations, including myself, back in May, I actually was in front of the Office of Management and Budget for 30 minutes making comments on why we need to disaggregate the data. And that's generally because we need to get on, and I'm kind of talking and going out in left field, but I'm going to come back home. When we talk about how we're categorized as a community, when years ago, right coming out of slavery, there was a distinct difference in America in the makeup racially. There was Black people, and there were white people, and there were others, but we outnumbered the minority group, which is what is considered the minority. Now there's a lot of disaggregation when it comes to immigration, when it comes to many people coming in this country. You heard me talk about my grandfather, and I'm going on, y'all, because it's 8:51. I'm trying to close on this, and I'm probably gonna, since it's 8:51, I'm gonna come back and I want to talk about that Office of Management and Budget decision, because that is very important to how we move forward. If we're going to get parity in racial equity, parity in contracting, parity in access to capital, with the way the affirmative action programs are going, the way the attacks are going in lawsuits against racial equity, there's going to have to be some changes to how we actually categorize ourselves. It's going to have to come to another categorization of us as people. As I mentioned, my grandfather, 100 years old, his grandfather was a slave. He died Robert Tate died in 1922, right before my grandfather was born. Robert Tate, again, my third great grandfather was a slave. And my grandfather was a year away, a year and a half away of meeting him. So that stigma is still living with us today. I just want you to think about, as we move forward and looking at getting better contracting, looking at getting that really at that federal level, that 13%, that 14%, that's what we are of this population. That's where we have racial equity. We have our share of the actual pie is being at that 13-14% of federal contracting. Looking at those numbers also, because as I close, because I do want to just take a couple of minutes, even though we got 7 minutes, to hear from you on just comments in and around the survey, comments in and around if you know about that Office of Management and Budget decision. I wanted to show that actual directive, but we don't have enough time. I will actually show that on next week, along with probably having a guest. But just moving forward, I kind of been around because, this is near and dear to me, because again, I made public comments on why we need to disaggregate, and we need to be really counted as a descendant of a slave. My particular choice was American descendants of slavery. That's ADOS. That's a group that I have followed for many, many years and have had a lot of communication in and around that. You heard me talk about a Black agenda. We definitely need to develop a Black agenda. I asked you if you want to get involved in helping develop a Black agenda. Please email us at info@advancingblackbiz.org. We're about to get that committee started to actually come up with the groundworks of starting a Black agenda. There's several Black agendas that have been produced over the past many, many years. There's one good Black agenda that I will actually start to share in the coming weeks, and that's from the ADOS Advocacy Foundation. And because it's data-driven solutions. And that's what we really need to start thinking about is what is best? What does the data say? What was the data actually prove over a historical standpoint? So just think about that as we go. I don't want to ramble anymore, but I want to hear from you for these last couple of minutes on what do you think is going on out there in our community as a Black business owner? What do you want to do as a Black business owner? How do you want to make a difference when it comes to public policy? We're talking more about that collective uplift when we're talking about public policy. We definitely want to be very successful individually as Black business owners, but when we're talking about public policy, we're talking about that collective uplift. Raise your hand if you want to make a comment, y'all. I wanted to just get in, get out, and talk about, public policy in an indirect way and how it helps Black business owners and Black consumers. And a lot of that comes with, how you categorize as a Black business owner. How do you advocate? Any hands raised? Hands raised. It is 8:55. I went on a little longer than I wanted to, but it is 8:55. What's going on out there, everybody? Anybody want to make a comment in and around the survey? What you actually marked on that survey, what you checked on that survey. Anyone out there? I know I haven't been able to look at the chat. Raquel, are there any questions in the chat? I see there are several.
No questions, but Charles and Paula in that order now have their hands up.
All right, Charles, come on in. Show your face if you want to.
Good morning. Show my face right quick so y'all can see I'm a real person.
All right, definitely want to see that. All right, Charles, take about 45 seconds.
I'll be real quick. I mentioned in the chat how I'm here to get the information first and foremost. So that's why I'm here first. I think y'all are much more informed and educated on a lot of these issues. But I think what happens is a disconnect between the people who need to hear these issues versus the people who know about the issues, is that the influence, So I'm personally working on bridging that gap, becoming influential in the community so that the community will be willing to listen to the information that you all have. So that's what I say. The biggest caveat here is to continue to get educated, but also work on influence so that they be willing to actually hear the information. And that's the gap I'm trying to fill. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Charles. Appreciate the comment. Paula Watts, we're gonna have Paula on sometime soon to talk about the data that Paula is working on. Is similar to what I talked about on that contracted numbers. What's going on, Paula?
Oh, thank you. And thank you for what you're doing. I'm so excited about this because we do need to have a voice. What's happening out here in these streets is not good as it relates to Black business owners, and the data. There's not enough businesses participating in the 8A program, so that's my charge, is to get more businesses in this space, specifically in Georgia, because there's no competition. I'm gonna leave it there.
All right, Paula, definitely going to bring you back because Paula has been going over data numbers on the number of 8A programs or 8A certified businesses that are out there. She's pulled the data away from, disaggregated the data somewhat with the number of Black businesses in the state. My particular focus is centered around, how many Black 8A firms have received contracts at that federal level. We had a program last night, a cohort program with the Capital Readiness Program, where we partnered with the United States Black Chambers, with the Minority Business Development Agency. We had a conversation around contracting at the local level. We had officials on from the school system, AP, Atlanta Public Schools, former official from the city of Atlanta in the compliance department. Also, we had a private person that has many years of experience in the federal government, and we went over, contracting. I will say the Atlanta Public Schools is looking to increase their what they call minority participation in contracting. They were at a height several years ago at 25%. Contracting level for what they call minority businesses. It actually dropped when they removed the program concentrating on minority contracting to from what I understand, Brent talked about last night, the supply diversity manager for Atlanta Public Schools went down under 10% when the program was removed. So they're ramping that program up again. So they're looking to increase. So please be on the lookout for contracting opportunities for Atlanta Public Schools. We have an event on April 30th, partnering with Atlanta Public Schools to showcase you as chamber members. So be on the lookout. I don't know if that's hit the airwaves yet, but we will be coming up, or that may have been in the newsletter. And let's see, is Melvin on? I don't see Melvin. I know Melvin is rolling, doing many, many things. So we got a lot of events going on, and I don't see any other hands raised, but I do want to just, as we close, it is 9 o'clock. So as we close, events that are coming up, we have the ABB golf tournament coming up on June 3rd. You're going to have the official information next week on that golf event. It will be held at Top Golf Atlanta. Top Golf Atlanta. We have a few other events going on. One is the DC fly-in. That information will be coming out next week also on our ABC DC fly-in for our chamber members. That is September the 12th through the 15th. That official information will be coming out also next week. We have a candidate forum coming up with the DeKalb County CEO race. That's a wide open race. The incumbent is not running for re-election. That's going to be an interesting race. So we're going to have those candidates at the Stonecrest Library on April the 23rd, along with District Commission race District 5 and School Board District race 5. Also, something you probably didn't know, we do go to DC 2 times a year with the Southern Regional Economic Roundtable. DC fly-in, that's the Southern Region Economic Roundtable, which is led by our President Emeritus Michael Hill, which is a group of Black chambers, nonprofits, organizations that actually work in and around our community in that specific focus. We'll be going to DC on May the 12th, if I'm right about that date, May the 13th through the 15th. We'll be going up to DC to meet with our congressional delegation, to meet with departments, the USDA, meet with several departments, Department of Education. We're going to meet and talk about contracting opportunities, talk about access to capital. There's a lot of different programs in the USDA with access to capital for small businesses, particularly in communities that are less than 50,000. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics in and around how do we increase opportunities for you as a Black business owner when we're in DC on May the 13th through May the 15th. That will be with organizational leaders, chamber presidents from all over the South, So we're going to have a good time there. All right, y'all, not any other questions or comments. Thank y'all for coming on to Public Policy Talks on this Thursday. Sorry I had to go a little indirect today, but there's a lot of foundational things that we need to do to strengthen our community, strengthen our Black businesses, particularly strengthen our Black consumers. Our number one consumer is Black people from our community as Black business owners. So we have to strengthen that. We got to talk a little bit about an indirect way of how we get to that parity level. How do we get to that 13% of federal contracts? How do we get to a consistent level in all of the Black cities in the state of Georgia and Black cities around the South and around this nation in that contracting level, and definitely access to capital? So thanks a lot, y'all. Y'all have a good rest of the Thursday and great weekend. We'll be back here on next Thursday at 8:30 a.m. talking about public policy as it relates to you as a Black business owner. Thanks a lot. My name is Markee Tate, president of Advancing Black Businesses. Good having y'all today. See y'all. Y'all have a good one. All right. And Demetra, I did see that question, that survey. Raquel, were you able to put the survey in the chat? Yes, there it is. That survey is in the chat. I know there's a few more questions. Thanks, Barry. See that? There's another question about the survey, and that's actually in the chat. But thank y'all for coming in. I'm going to actually save the chat. And if I need to get with some of you guys afterwards, I will be calling or texting you if I have your phone number / email address. Thanks a lot, y'all. Y'all have a good one. See y'all next time.
All right, take care, y'all.
All right. What's up, Matt? Got that golf event tomorrow. I'm gonna get out there one day, man. One day.
Hey, yeah. Good morning, brother. And what was I gonna say? The Top Golf event, I'm gonna call Michael T. Hill. I got to connect over there if somebody wanted to possibly do a little sponsorship.